The doctor will see you. ITS, let's fight.
Fight, is my status. Alright. Dr. IELTS, let's fight. Fight, is my status. Alright.
The doctor will see you. ITS, let's fight.
Fight, is my status. Alright. Dr. IELTS, let's fight. Fight, is my status. Alright.
The doctor will see you. ITS, let's fight.
Fight, is my status. Alright. Dr. IELTS, let's fight. Fight, is my status. Alright.
Ever thought about switching from like spinning tunes on the radio to teaching English in a classroom? Talk
Yeah.
about a major career change.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into the career of John Miggs Galloway.
Okay.
And he's an educator who did just that. We've got a bunch of his CVs,
Yeah.
his LinkedIn profile, and even a letter from a former student. All of this is going to help us figure out what kind of teacher he is.
What's really amazing is that John has over 9,000 hours of teaching experience.
Whoa,
That's a serious commitment. That's not just a job at that point.
9,000 hours. That's got to be like teaching for a whole year straight.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up for a sec. I got to be honest, when I saw former radio personality and DJ on his resume, I was totally confused.
Right.
How do you even go from that to teaching English?
That's a great example of how skills from one job can totally be used in another job, especially in education.
Okay.
Think about it. Getting a crowd excited, thinking on your feet, communicating clearly.
Wow.
Those are super important in both jobs.
I never really thought about it like that. That's cool. So then John ends up teaching English in China for over a decade.
And he wasn't even just in one classroom.
Right.
He worked with all kinds of different schools, from South China Normal University to Guangdong Experimental High School. So he's worked in all kinds of different teaching environments and with students from all different backgrounds and different English levels.
And get this, he was also a certified IELTS examiner for the British Council. He's done over 1,200 speaking and writing exams.
Wow.
That's like a gold mine of experience because he understands how English is evaluated around the world.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the kind of insights he's learned.
So valuable. He's not just fluent in English, but he also knows all about those standardized tests that so many English learners have to take
Yeah.
for school or for work.
Absolutely. And if you're thinking about taking the IELTS, having a teacher who knows that test inside and out is a game changer.
For sure. And it's not just the IELTS.
Yeah.
He's also worked with students who are studying for the SAT and the TOEFL, which means that he understands what's needed to get into college and how to help students succeed in those places.
His CV mentions that he also has experience in curriculum design and teacher training.
That just shows his leadership skills.
Yeah.
He's not just comfortable teaching, he wants to help shape how English is taught.
Wow.
He's mentoring other teachers.
Okay, so we're starting to see what kind of person he is. John's really experienced, he's adaptable, and he's clearly really passionate about teaching English.
Yeah.
But what is he actually like in the classroom? What's it like to be his student?
This is where that student reference letter is really helpful.
Right.
It gives us a peek into what his classroom is like.
You're right. His former student, Chuenapa, says that John creates an adjustable teaching plan and uses interesting instructional materials.
Mhm.
It really sounds like he changes the way he teaches depending on the student and keeps things interesting.
And look at the results.
Yeah.
Chuenapa's IELTS score went from a 6 to a 7 with John as her teacher.
Wow.
That's a huge improvement.
pitch.
It really shows how good of a teacher he is.
It really does. She also mentions that he helped her evaluate and maximize her potential.
Right.
That part stuck with me because anyone can teach the material, but it's something different to really help a student be their best.
And if we look at his LinkedIn profile,
Hmm.
we see how important growth is to him.
Hmm.
He is always learning and improving as a teacher.
Hmm.
He's really excited about using technology in his teaching and is always looking for new ways to get students engaged.
He even says, and this is a quote, "It's a digital world and we have to try and keep up with it. Language teaching is no exception." He clearly knows the way people are learning languages is changing and he's all for it.
Yeah, he's not just trying to keep up with the changes, he's trying to use them to make learning more effective and fun for his students.
Right.
He really gets that learning a language is a process that's always changing.
So we're starting to understand how John teaches. He's adaptable, he focuses on helping each student grow, and he loves using technology. But there's more to him, right?
Oh, yeah. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll look more closely at how he teaches, especially his take on communicative language teaching.
Ooh.
This is where it gets really interesting.
All right, so we're back and ready to really dig into how John Meeks Galloway teaches English. We know that he's really good at adapting and loves using technology, but how does he actually do that in the classroom?
So, something that really stands out about how John teaches is that he's really into something called communicative language teaching.
I've definitely heard of that, but I could use a little reminder. What does
Yeah.
that even mean for those of us who aren't teachers?
So, imagine this: instead of just memorizing grammar rules from a textbook, you're actually using English in like real life situations,
Okay.
like role playing or simulations.
Oh, okay. So instead of learning how to use verbs, you're learning how to like order food at a restaurant
Exactly.
or ask for directions.
Yes. John gives his students chances to actually use their English in ways that they might need to in real life,
Yeah.
and that helps them feel more confident and fluent.
That makes a lot of sense. And I bet his experience with so many different kinds of students in China really influenced how he teaches. But where does the technology part come in? We know that he loves using tech in his
Right.
classes.
And this is what makes John so innovative. On his LinkedIn, he talks about using these apps where students can practice speaking and get instant feedback on their pronunciation, and online forums where they can talk to other English learners from all over the world.
So he's finding ways to connect what happens in the classroom with the real world.
Yes,
That makes learning English so much more real and exciting for students.
exactly. And remember that student reference letter that we talked about? Quantipa specifically mentions how much she liked his interesting instructional materials.
Oh, right.
It's obvious that he really puts a lot of effort into finding resources that his students will find interesting.
It's one thing to have a ton of experience like John does, but it's totally different to be able to use that experience in so many different teaching situations. He's taught everything from like the basics of English to advanced writing for college and of course those test prep courses. It's amazing how much he can do.
It shows how deeply he understands how people learn languages. He's not just teaching to pass a test, he's teaching students how to actually use English in different parts of their lives.
It's like he has this huge toolbox filled with all these different techniques and ways of teaching,
Right.
and he knows exactly which tool to use for each student, for each class, for everything.
And being able to adapt like that is super important in the world of teaching English because things are always changing. Think about it. John has seen how technology has completely changed how we teach and learn languages over the last 20 years.
And he hasn't just seen those changes happen.
Right.
He's totally embraced them. He's always trying new tools and ways of teaching to become even better.
Exactly. And being committed to always learning like that isn't just good for him, it sets a really good example for his students.
Mm.
It shows them that learning a language is something you can do your whole life, and there's always something new to learn.
He's a perfect example of lifelong learning and not just about languages. Okay, so we've talked about his background, his teaching style, how he uses technology,
Mhm.
but there's one more thing we need to talk about: his leadership qualities.
Yes. Let's look past just the classroom and see how all of this experience has shaped his vision for what teaching English could look like in the future.
Let's do it. Let's find out how John's journey from radio to English teaching has made him a leader in the field. Okay, so we've explored John's journey from DJ to dedicated educator, getting a feel for his adaptable teaching style and his knack for bringing technology into the classroom. But now let's shift gears and talk about leadership.
Because it's one thing to be passionate about teaching, but it's another level to inspire and lead others in the field.
Exactly. So, how does John's experience translate into leadership in language education?
Well, if you look at his career trajectory, he's consistently taken on roles that go beyond just classroom instruction. He's worked with institutions to design curriculum, mentored other teachers, and really contributed to shaping the way English is taught.
His LinkedIn profile even mentions something he calls a manifold vision for language instruction. Any idea what that might be about? It sounds intriguing, but a little cryptic.
It's fascinating, right? He talks about going beyond just the technical aspects of language and really emphasizing things like emotional intelligence, empathy, and collaboration.
That's interesting, emotional intelligence and language learning. I wouldn't have immediately put those two together.
Right. But it speaks to his understanding that language is about so much more than just grammar and vocabulary. It's about connecting with people, understanding different perspectives, and navigating the nuances of communication.
And he seems to believe those skills are essential for effective leadership in language education. It's about creating a supportive and encouraging learning environment where students feel comfortable taking risks and making mistakes.
Precisely. Remember that quote from Chuenapa, his former student?
Yeah.
She mentioned how he would sometimes teach lifelong lessons during class.
It really highlights how John sees his role as an educator. It's not just about equipping students with language skills, but also empowering them with valuable life skills that extend far beyond the classroom.
Absolutely. He's fostering critical thinking, resilience, adaptability qualities that are essential for success in any field, not just language learning.
It sounds like John's approach to leadership isn't about dictating from on high, but rather about fostering a love of learning and a sense of community.
Exactly. And his commitment to ongoing professional development further emphasizes this. He's not content to rest on his laurels. He's constantly seeking out new approaches, new
Yeah.
technologies, and new ways to grow as an educator.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of John Miggs Galloway, what are the key takeaways for us? What can we learn from his unique journey and approach to language instruction?
I think the biggest takeaway is the power of transferable skills and how embracing diverse experiences can enrich your approach to any field, not just education. Just look at John's career trajectory from radio personality to English language instructor, IELTS examiner, curriculum developer, teacher trainer. Each experience added another layer to his expertise.
It's a good reminder that our passions and experiences, even those that seem unrelated, can intertwine in surprising and enriching ways. Who knows what hidden talents or unexpected connections might be waiting to be discovered in your own journey?
Absolutely. And remember, leadership isn't about holding a specific title, it's about embodying a mindset. John's commitment to continuous learning, fostering collaboration, and embracing new ideas are all qualities that make him not just a great educator, but a true leader in his field.
This deep dive has been inspiring. So, to our listeners out there, what will you take away from John's story? Perhaps it's the spark to explore a new path, the encouragement to embrace lifelong learning, or the inspiration to lead with empathy and a manifold vision in your own endeavors. Whatever it may be, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the conversation going. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Deep Dive.